The tight engagement between Red Bull and Visa Cash App RB, formerly known as AlphaTauri, has sparked speculation in the F1 paddock. But what exactly are Red Bull allowed to do for their sister team? And how could they work around the rules to make sure that the sister team will have the best possible car and strategy this season? Let's dive into their master plan. McLaren CEO Zak Brown has regularly raised worries about Red Bull and Visa Cash App RB's strong partnership, which might pose a difficulty for competing teams. The fact that the Red Bull organization owns both teams may result in an evident conflict of interest. It is worth noting that the competition of Visa Cash App RB is not the only factor raising eyebrows in the field. It is more about how similar the Red Bull and Visa Cash App RB cars will be next season. The team's partnership with Red Bull will result in certain Visa Cash App RB workers transferring to the reigning champions Milton Keynes facility. While Faenza will continue to serve as the team's organizational base, competing outfits face a subtler danger. It is not banned for two cars to have extremely similar appearances, as long as it is the result of an external observation of a competitor car and leads to an independent design process for the part in issue. Similar cars are not always indicative of illegal activity, but they can lead to it. If the two cars are extremely comparable, it might imply that the two teams have a very similar aero philosophy. It may be utilized cleverly to avoid intellectual property laws. This is connected to certain developments. If the overall aerodynamic concept is the same, several aerodynamic advancements might follow a similar route. This is relevant to the new restrictions for wind tunnels and computer simulations. The amount of hours will be determined by the Constructors' Championship's final position from the previous year. Thus, those that finish last will receive the most hours, while champions would receive the fewest. Red Bull won the Constructors' title, thus it has less wind tunnel and CFD hours than the other teams, whereas Visa Cash App can have nearly twice the hours. As a result, Visa Cash App will most likely have wind tunnel and CFD time available in the second half of the season. They can legally utilize these resources to develop, but if the car is a Red Bull clone, the legal development might be cleverly provided with separate data. This could help the main Red Bull team out in the second half of the season, as they'll just have to see if it works for the sister team and then create it themselves, without having to use their hours. It is quite difficult for the FIA and stewards to maintain control when analyzing the part drawings. The Visa Cash App is still under development, and something similar may be conducted on the Red Bull car at times. In other words, Red Bull's aerodynamics might be exceeded without any evidence from the FIA or other teams. This is apart from the existing tight control methods, and this could be part of their master plan. Use the sisters team's extra development advantages to create an even better RB20. But at the same time, Red Bull is confronting an issue that practically every successful team has encountered: the follow-up of a near-perfect creation. Of course, the RB20 will not be the second car off Red Bull's assembly line, but it does have some big shoes to fill. Its older twin, the RB19, has established its place in F1 history. The car that drove the team to all but one win in 2023 smashed practically every record and made winning both championships appear like a parade, raises the question of how to follow it. But their suggested plan using the sister team could help them significantly. Red Bull's domination was so great that they could afford to ignore 2023, introducing only one big update to the car for the rest of the year, and instead focus on 2024 in order to keep their competitors at bay. The RB19 was clearly a near-perfect car, raising the question of how much further improvement is possible in the regulations. Red Bull swiftly grasped the alterations introduced for 2022, which is not an unusual pattern in F1 history. During Mercedes' 8-year reign over the Constructors' Championship, the widest difference between them and P2 occurred in 2014, the year the regulations changed, and 2016. A deeper look at the Mercedes chronology reveals that their difference between P2 has been less throughout the years. It comes to reason that there is a ceiling within these rules, and even someone as brilliant as Adrian Newey will struggle to achieve such significant improvements as time passes. However, if you question Newey directly, he will offer a different response. The advantage of having such dominance over your competitors is the freedom it provides in terms of time and design. Even if your entire concept fails, you still have the foundation for a car that will easily win in 2023. However, the time available to Red Bull has allowed them to pursue alternative routes. Granted, they have a smaller wind tunnel allowance, 70% compared to Haas's 115%, but Newey's statements indicate they have already made tremendous progress. Eddie Jordan told TalkSport last year, "I was at a function the other night with Adrian Newey. We are cyclists who cycle a lot together in Cape Town. Adrian feels that the evolution of what they've got at the moment is going to be so difficult for anyone to catch up with. So, folks out there, please prepare yourself for a boring time or an exciting time depending on whether you are a Red Bull fan next year." While Newey is certainly optimistic about their possibilities, Horner was more cautious in his judgment. "Only time will tell. I mean, the RB19 is the most successful car in the history of Formula One, so RB20 has got big shoes to fill," he said. "But there are always things that you're learning in this business. RB19 still had elements that we could improve, and the team have been working hard to do that and address that over the winter in the design phase." Horner's most fascinating input came from the simulator drivers. "They are saying it's evolution, not revolution. It's a simulator and still a virtual world," he said. "So, of course, you want a correlation between track and simulator, which has tended to be reasonable over the last couple of years. Hopefully, we're making progress. But the stopwatch never lies, and we'll only see when we get to the track." Teams, including as McLaren, Mercedes and Ferrari, appeared to be catching up to Red Bull in late 2023, but there was one major caveat. Red Bull had all but halted development on their car. The winter of 2023-2024 is building up to be one of the most fascinating in F1 in decades, as 4 teams try to reel in Red Bull, each with their own justifications. Mercedes has James Allison back at the helm and has finally abandoned the zero-pod design that was holding them back. McLaren has 2 new senior signings, an in-house wind tunnel, and claims to be the second quickest vehicle by the end of 2023. Ferrari's Fred Vasseur now has his feet under the desk, and they too have promised a significantly altered design in an attempt to catch Red Bull. While Aston Martin, who presented a challenge at the start of 2023, will try to learn from their mistakes last season and become a regular challenger throughout the year. So, with 4 teams competing for first place, surely not all of them can fail, right? Chances are, at least one of these will take a step towards Red Bull. The question is, whether that step is significant enough to put some pressure on the minds within Milton Keynes. The 2 Red Bull drivers enter 2024 after having quite contrasting seasons in the previous year. Max Verstappen is the current world champion and, in many people's opinions, the champion-elect for 2024. At 26, he is at the pinnacle of his abilities, which were demonstrated for all to see last season. Verstappen's season followed the same trajectory as his whole career. The Dutchman has progressively improved year after year until 2021, when he surged into championship contention. 2022 was therefore a more confident stroll to the title, whereas 2023 was a thrashing of the competition. What about 2024 then? The smart money is on Verstappen to win it all again, given there has rarely been such symmetry between driver and car. When Verstappen hangs up his helmet, he may look back on the RB19 as the best car of his career. And if Red Bull does not make drastic changes, the RB20 should suit the Dutchman's skill set just as well. Sergio Perez's experience, however, could hardly be more different. It was a year when his teammates' complete supremacy relieved him of some of the strain, since Red Bull could really afford one half of the garage to make mistakes. It appears that 2024 will be different. If Red Bull's opponents bridge the gap even a bit, Perez's underperformance will not be readily overlooked. He is in the penultimate year of his contract and has Daniel Ricciardo breathing down his neck. So anything short of a significant improvement in performance might result in Red Bull firing him before the season is over. Red Bull's challenge in 2024 is to outperform themselves rather than the competition. It would be difficult to find someone prepared to wager money that Red Bull would be dethroned in 2024, but some feel they will have a tighter struggle. Adrian Newey, the great designer, will decide how tight that contest will be. He has rarely failed to deliver. And we'll have to wait just a couple more weeks to know what kind of steps Red Bull have over the winter, for their own team, but also for the second team. Is it fair? You decide. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.